Hello and welcome. This is Karen from 50 is the New 50, and I am going to be doing a live tutorial right now for about the next 40 minutes or so. And if you are hopping on and joining me live, make sure you say hi. And if you catch this, if you're watching this later on the replay, which I will save this and post it later, you can comment replay and still ask lots of questions because I will be checking back on this. So hello, welcome. As you come on today, make sure you say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. Hi Donna, hi Becky. All right, so we're just gonna jump right in. Hello, let me pin my hair back while we're waiting. I do wanna tell everybody that I scheduled this tutorial today and I did not realize that the tree trimmers were coming to our house. So, yes. Hi Donna Jane. We have tree trimmers and they are right outside my window here in my little studio. And we have huge maple trees and they are right in the midst of cutting them down, chopping them up. And if we hear a really big boom, like right now there is a huge, our tree is so huge. There is a tree coming down, a limb that is the size of a tree. So let me just hang on because the ground might move when they drop it. It's amazing to watch them cut trees. Anyway, this is not a tree cutting video. Oh gosh, they're just amazing guys. Amazing. Okay, so it might be a little bit noisy as I do the tutorial. I'll talk louder, but you may hear some buzzing in the background, and those are the tree trimmers. Okay, well, let's get going here. Welcome, my name's Karen, and I want to do a little poll before we get started on your Seint 3D status. So in the comments, whether you're watching this live or if you watch it later on the replay, I want you to answer, are you already using Seint? You don't use it yet, but you're going to. And you've never heard of it before until now. You don't even know what I'm talking about, okay? So let me know in the comments your Seint status. You already use it, you don't use it yet, but you're thinking about it, and you've never heard of it before and you have no clue. So you're interested in what I'm gonna be talking about. Okay, so today's tutorial is gonna be all about Seint 3D Foundation, which is a cream makeup, and we're going to be doing a full coverage application, and I'm going to be talking about how you can use this makeup to get a full coverage and the different ways that you can accomplish that. 3D cream foundation is very, very versatile. You can use it for full coverage, you can get a no makeup look, you can get medium coverage. It all depends on the brushes you use, how you apply it, and in the order you apply it. All right, well, thank you so much. Okay, I appreciate it, Becky. So thank you. Okay, Heather already uses it. Donna Donna Jane doesn't use it yet, but wants to. Becky, you use it. Excellent. So Donna, I know you're using it. Donna Cross. So welcome everybody. So as you're coming on, answer those 3 questions. I'll remind everybody again. Are you already using Seint? You don't use it, but you're thinking about it, or you've never heard of it and you don't even know what I'm talking about. So answer those as you come on here. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is talk about how to get a full coverage application with this makeup. And the first thing I wanna tell you is that there's 3 different things that can affect that. The first one is the type of brush you use. So this is gonna be a tutorial, so get ready. So depending on the type of brush you use will help apply the right amount of makeup that you want for the type of application that you want. So if you want a very no makeup, light makeup application, you want to use a brush like this. This is the blend brush. You want to use a brush that's looser, a little fluffier. What happens is a brush like this is not going to pick up as much makeup, and when you apply it, you're just going to do it in a swirling motion, and that's going to apply less makeup. So this is one of the key functions about getting the type of application you want is by the brush. The next brush, this is called the blush and bronzer brush. Can you see how full and fluffy these are? So they're still not as loose as this brush, but they're a little bit looser. They're not as compact or dense. And again, using a brush like this is going to give you probably like more of a medium, a natural to medium coverage, depending on how you use it. And then finally, for more of a full coverage, you're going to want to use brushes like these that are very dense, okay? This is going to give you the most full coverage application, the quickest, okay? Any of these brushes will give you all of the 3 different types of application. It's because the next tip I'm going to tell you is how you apply it, okay? So a brush like this is a little bit firmer. You can see this is a lot firmer and dense. Same thing as this one. So this brush is called the buff brush. You can see how dense that is. That'll give you the most full coverage. And this is called the 3D brush. This will give you medium to full coverage. And this is the brush I'm going to use today along with the detail brush, because I always use the detail brush. No matter what brush I'm using, I always use this. This is the brush I use to do contouring and some detail application. So that's the first thing that's going to determine what type of coverage you get is the brush you use. The second is how you use your brush. So if you are swirling or buffing your makeup on, you'll get a much lighter application because you're going to be applying less makeup and dispersing it over a wider area. Okay, that makes sense, doesn't it? Right? If you're using a brush that's much more dense and you press it or you stipple it on, you're going to get more makeup in that area, and it's going to give you a fuller coverage. So pressing the makeup in or stippling it on with a brush that's a little bit more dense, or even a brush that's more medium, pressing it on, anything that you press on or stipple is going to give you medium to fuller coverage. It's going to apply more makeup. Oh, well, I'm glad you didn't miss it, Rosie. Hop on in here. Come on in. And Denise, hi. As you're watching, Mary Lou, Millie, hey Millie, and Melissa and everybody, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and just comment your Seint status. Are you already using the Seint makeup, the 3D makeup? Do you not use it yet, but you're thinking about it, or you've never heard of this makeup before and you're just really wondering, what is this lady talking about? All right, so today we're doing full coverage foundation, and we just talked about how you can get full coverage foundation depending on the brush you use, how you apply it, and the third is the order in which you apply it, i.e. layering. Okay, and that's what we're gonna do today. So this is my palette. This has my 3D foundation. All 4 of these create my 3D foundation, along with a cream lip and cheek and an illuminator. This is usually the basic starter palette that I start almost all of my clients with. You can add on to these palettes and get different sizes. You can add on bronzer and eyeshadows and all of that. We're gonna focus on this right here, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna be using our color corrector, which is this shade here. This is a main shade, my contour, and this is a brightening shade. These 3 shades that look like makeup are basically foundation. We call them highlights, and all of these provide different types of coverage. And the contour shade is a cream contour that also provides a bit of coverage, but we're going to be using that today in a little different order than normal because we're doing full coverage. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with this little brush here, the smaller end of the detail brush, and we're going to pick up some of the color corrector shade or my darkest shade. And since I am getting full coverage, I'm going to apply a little bit of this first, but I'm going to apply it with a smaller brush, and I'm going to apply it in a buffing, because whenever you're using a color corrector or a darker shade, the one thing you do not want to do, even if you want full coverage, is apply a thick layer of any of this makeup. You want to take just the smallest amount and you're going to apply it to areas. Right now I'm kind of buffing it around my eye. So underneath my eye and up on my eyelid. So I'm taking what's on this brush and applying it on my eyelid and under my eyelid. Why did I apply it there? Okay, so wherever you have the most distracting darkness on your face. So for me, I have mascara on, but I don't have any eyeshadow on. I actually have some dark under eye, not too bad. I'm very lucky. I have under eye bags, but I don't have a lot of darkness. But on my eyelids, I actually have a lot of melasma, and it makes my eyelids look really dark. Okay, so I'm applying my color corrector there. Now, next place, around my nose. A lot of us have rosacea or redness along our nose area. So I'm tapping into my color corrector, and again, I'm buffing that. Tap, tap, lightly in the area where I have some redness, right in my nose. Another place that a lot of us get discoloration or areas that need a little extra coverage or color correcting are broken capillaries, right? I have, my whole chin is covered with purple broken capillaries. So I'm gonna do the same thing, tap, tap, and then I'm going to use this brush, even though we're doing full coverage, I'm swirling and buffing this on to get the lightest coverage, the lightest amount, because we don't wanna, we're gonna be layering, so we wanna, when we're layering, we don't wanna apply large, heavy amounts of makeup on top of each other. We still want to keep it very skin-like and very light, but we can still layer to get the coverage and the look that we want. All right, what about sunspots and age spots, right? So specifically for me and for a lot of us gals, we get a lot of that sun damage and age spots right here on the side of our face and the side of our temples, right? So what happens is, you know, usually that's where the sun hits us. And so this is a really kind of troublesome area for me. So I'm taking and I'm swirling and buffing some of my color corrector right in this area to help diffuse that a bit. And the reason why I'm doing that is because my contour is going to go right in here, and I want to color correct first before I apply my contour. A lot of us gals have these sunspots and age spots right in that contour line. And what happens is if you go to apply contour directly to the skin over those areas without doing a little color correcting first, it usually makes your sunspots and age spots really stand out more. And that's not what we want, okay? That's not what we want at all. Okay. I'm not doing Demi in this one. We're doing full coverage 3D foundation today. But that's a good question. Okay, I'll do one of those in another live I'll schedule. So we are covering first, changing up the order of the makeup for a full coverage foundation and using the darkest, warmest shade for color correcting. And depending on how I color match you, your color corrector shade is going to be different than what mine is, or it might be the same because we might have the same issues, and a lot of us do. All right, so the next step is I'm going to go in with my main foundation shade. And this is going to be a highlight shade. And the brush I'm going to be using today is called the 3D brush. And again, this is a brush that's a little bit more dense, right? Can you see that's a dense, even this side that looks like a paintbrush is very dense and packed. So this is going to apply more makeup quickly. It's going to pick up more makeup out of the tin when I apply it. And depending on how I apply it by tapping and pressing, it's also going to apply more makeup. So the first thing I'm going to do is, this brush is pretty clean there. Can you see that? I'm going to tap, tap into my main shade, and let's go ahead and start at the top. So I'm going to start by pressing my main shade in. Can you see that there? So I'm not reloading the brush at this moment. I'm just kind of pressing it on. I'm kind of doing a stippling motion and dispersing it across till I get the coverage that I like in that area. Now I'm going to take the brush again, and I'm going to do a tap tap right into my main highlight shade, and we'll come over here. And excuse me for not looking right in the camera right now. I'm looking down into a mirror so I can make sure that I'm blending well. So this is one of the keys to getting full coverage, is how you apply the makeup. Not just the brush you use, but how you apply it to your face. And as you can see, we're doing the stippling and the pouncing motion right now, okay? Tap, tap back into the makeup. I'm gonna go ahead and apply it around my nose, and I'm gonna apply a bit underneath my eyes, even though I put some of my color corrector here, but I'm gonna kind of start on the nose first, where I know I need the side, but I'm not gonna swipe. I'm gonna tap and press without reapplying any makeup yet over the back part of my eye. It's ready for me to tap, tap a little bit more. So this is how we're going to get the full coverage. We're building up very thin layer, and we're tapping and pressing it on. All right, so let me go ahead and keep going here. And this is called the 3D brush right now. Yes, thank you, Denise. This is the 3D brush, and I'm using this end of it to press and tap my main foundation on. So I'm tap, tap, and we're doing full coverage over the top, even where I had a little bit of my color corrector on my chin. I don't need as much, but I am gonna apply a bit over. And especially over here where I have all along my jaw, up the side, and then where I have the color corrector on that sunspot, I'm gonna tap some of my main foundation shade. Okay, so you can do as much or as little. Right now I'm just kind of doing a little bit of blending. I haven't really added any more. Okay, gals, if you missed the beginning, of me doing the tutorial, they are out here cutting our maple trees. This house was built in 1930. These maple trees are older than the house, okay? And the branch that they just cut right now is the size of a tree. And it's coming down outside my window. So they're really amazing. They're lowering it very gently right now, but I'm hoping that the house doesn't shake, because last time they were working a little bit ago and one of the branches, they dropped a little bit non-gently and the whole house shook. But it's amazing, just amazing. I don't know if you've ever had your trees trimmed. This is just expensive, but absolutely amazing. Okay, so back to makeup, not tree trimming. So we've done our color corrector first, our main foundation went on next, and now we're gonna go ahead and add our contour shade. And we're doing that because we're getting more of a full coverage look today. Let me make sure I'm blended well. Okay. So for adding contour, I really, all of the brushes can put contour. You can even put contour on with your finger. But with this type of application, I suggest that you don't do that, because you're gonna end up wiping makeup off. So this brush is wonderful. It's called the Detail Brush, and it looks like a little broom. I use this end to apply my contour. This smaller end we used earlier to buff on my color corrector shade if you came in early. And by the way, if you're just catching us now, we're doing full coverage Seint makeup, and I'm telling you how you can get full coverage by using a different brush, the way you apply it, and of course the order in which you apply it, and that would be a little bit of layering. Okay, so right now we're going to go ahead and do our contour. So the first thing I want to contour, and I want to show you a little tip on contouring. We're going to press all this in when we're done too, because I see a little blending that I want to do. Okay, is we're going to side load our brush, and we're going to contour our cheekbones first. So this brush is really wonderful for getting really precise contouring. And what you do is you're going to take the side of this brush and you're going to just tap it in at an angle, or roll it across in an angle like this. And I'll show you what it looks like. See how I'm kind of going across like this? I'm not putting the full face of it down. I'm coming in and I'm rolling. So that when you look at the brush, this part doesn't have any makeup on it, right? It's just this edge. Can you see that, gals? There you go. Okay. So I'm going to feel for the outside of my ear. Hang on. Let me get my hair. Oh my goodness, that looks even worse. Well, that's okay, who cares? All right, we're gonna start from the up the top of my ear, and here's my cheekbone. We're gonna put this contour right underneath our cheekbone. We're not putting it on the top of our cheekbone, and we're gonna stop about the outside of our eye. So if you have the brush loaded, go ahead and press it right there, and we're pressing. And we're pressing. We're not doing any of that swiping that you see. We're not doing any of this, because we will then remove all of that color corrector and makeup on underneath. So we're starting on the outside of our ear, and you want to stop the contour about the outside of your eye. You're just pressing. Then you can take this side of the brush that has no makeup on it yet, and we can just tap and press up. Kind of just tap it up a bit, and that'll just soften and diffuse it just a little bit. So there's my contour. Let's go ahead and load that brush again, coming in at an angle, and we're just rolling it so that it just picks it up along those edges. Now we're going to come over here on this side, which is always tricky to cross your body. So again, your cheekbone is right here, right? We're going to apply it from the outside of the ear, kind of down, but not going past the outside of our eye. So we're just going to feel, press, and press. Oh, there goes a big branch. That kind of shook the ground a little bit. Okay. Then you can go ahead and, like I said, take the other side of that brush, and we're just going to kind of tap and press over just to diffuse it a bit. We'll do some blending when we're all done. Oh, there goes the chainsaw. Can you guys hear me okay? I was telling everybody that we are having our trees trimmed, and I had no clue when I scheduled this that I was having these huge trees trimmed today. Okay, so we have our contour on our cheeks. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna contour on our forehead. Now, not everybody needs to contour their forehead. So if you are not wearing your forehead exposed and you have bangs, you don't need to add contour up here. But if you have a taller forehead and you want to kind of frame your face and give the illusion that your forehead is a little bit smaller, you can put contour up here. And so now we'll take that same brush. I'm so sorry. Those chainsaws are so loud. And we're going to tap in directly. So now I'm tapping directly over. Can you gals hear the chainsaws? And I'm going to tap and press it up here, right up on the long of my forehead. And you can come down as far as you want to frame your face. We'll go tap, tap right back in. And I'm tapping it. And so now we're adding a bit of a shadow. I'm going to push it up into my hairline and tap a little bit. But you can see now, instead of having like 4 fingers, I've kind of added a shadow to lower my forehead just a bit, at least an illusion of that, to frame the top of my face, okay? Now, we can then just tap over this a little bit to soften that line between the contour and my main shade, like that. All right, you gals are so quiet. You're gonna have to tell me if you can hear those chainsaws buzzing away. Okay. So we contoured up on our forehead, underneath our cheekbones, and now we're going to contour and add a shadow and a little dimension underneath. No, they didn't know I was going live. I did not know they were showing up today. Love my husband, but I had no clue that the tree trimmers were coming today to do my trees. So anyway, it's beautiful music in the background. All right, let's go ahead and contour underneath our jaw. So loading that brush again full, we're going to come right here. And we're going to go right underneath our jawline, all right? Right underneath our jawline, not across the side of our face, not necessarily across the bone, underneath. And then on your, underneath your neck contour, you want to pull that back. So you want a shadow here, but you don't want a hard line. So let me go ahead and we're just loading that brush by tapping it in. Oh, thank you, Becky. And we're going to come underneath again, our jaw. Let me move my earring. And I'm just rubbing it right along underneath my jaw and then kind of pulling that down. Put some even down here on my neck so that you are adding just a little bit of a shadow underneath your jaw to kind of frame your face again, right? We're framing our face. So we're doing full coverage cream makeup. And when we started, I had a little poll for you gals. So if you are just now joining us, my poll that I wanted you to answer in the comments is, are you using Seint already? Are you thinking about, you don't use Seint yet, but you're thinking about it, or you've never heard of this makeup before, the 3D foundation. So let us know in the comments, okay? All right, so we're doing full coverage foundation, and we first talked about how you can get different application coverage depending on the brush you use, depending on how you apply it, and then of course in what order. So right now we're in the order phrase of it. Hi Kelly, I know you use it. So instead of doing, for full coverage, we actually went in a little bit different order, and you can see in my palette, I have my makeup in a different order. Usually I have my contour first, and then I use my color corrector, my main shade, and a brightener. But for full coverage, we're doing a little bit of layering. So after you apply your 3D foundation, which is what this all consists of, my color corrector, my main shade, my contour, we can now come in and we can add a little bit of brightener. I'm going to go ahead and use that small end of the detail brush, and I'm going to tap in to some of this brightener shade, just a little bit. And I'm going to apply some brightener on the inside of my eye to brighten, down underneath, not directly underneath my eyes, but a little bit underneath here where I have kind of these indentations to kind of pull them forward a bit. We can apply a little bit of brightener outside our temples, but I'm definitely not adding any brightener right here up against my eye where I have my crow's feet. And I'm going to be very careful with how much brightener I put right here where I have where I have my number 11s and all of this texture here. So I've tapped into the brush. The first place I'm going to apply is a little bit on the inside of my eye. It's very subtle. The key to adding a brightener at our age, because I'm assuming the majority of us are about my age, I'm 55, is keeping that brightener shade, some of you may be saying that's a concealer, keeping that shade only 1 or 2 shades lighter than your main shade. If you go way too light, you're gonna see texture and you're not gonna like it. It's gonna make your pores pop out. It's gonna make your fine lines, heck, let's just call them what they are wrinkles, emphasized, and we don't want that. And not everybody needs to put a brightener on their face. If you have a lot of texture around your face, like my mom has a lot, she's 76 now, 76 or 78. She has a lot of sun damage and texture around her eyes. And so she doesn't need to wear a brightener around here because it's just gonna really emphasize all of that. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking and I'm softly, very light-handed. I'm not really mixing this in with the color underneath. I'm really trying to keep it on top and I'm just lightly blending. So I'm tapping very lightly. We can put some of this down the bridge of your nose and up until here if you want to, if you don't have a lot of texture up here. Where I like to put my brightener up here is usually kind of like right above my brows a bit. And then I'm just very lightly, I'm keeping this very loose, and I'm just kind of lightly feathering and just kind of lightly swirling this on, and a very light buffing right up in that area. If you wear your hair pulled back and this actually shows, you can put a little brightener on the side of your temple. I usually have my hair down, so you really don't see it. But again, I'm avoiding this area here. Okay, you can put some on your Cupid's bow. Some gals do that, kind of in this area, on the bottom of your chin. But really the main area is kind of on the inside of the eye and just pulling that down a bit here, all right, to brighten this part of our face. So when we're all done, this doesn't look the best. It still looks very makeup-y. Is that a word? Okay. I can see makeup texture. I want full coverage, but I can still see makeup texture. So the key is to use your perfector sponge. So when you're all done, you need to press and blend this makeup in and use the perfector sponge to lift and remove any excess makeup. So I'm gonna start from the inside of my face and work out. If you do not know how to prepare your perfector sponge, this is not dry. We're not using this sponge dry. It would be about 2/3 the size. We're using it not wet. It's been wet and all the water's been wrung out of it. It's been sitting out in a towel. You know, it's been sitting on a towel for a couple hours and now it's just poofy. It's poofy. It's still soft and cotton ball-like. I don't know how to describe this, okay? So you cannot use a dry beauty blender or perfector sponge with cream makeup. You'll end up just pulling it all off your face. You want to use your perfector sponge prepared ahead of time, giving yourself plenty of time to get all the water out and let it air dry. Okay, so let's start by pressing. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna start pressing this makeup in. Can you see, I know it's gray. Can you see the makeup on the end there? This was clean, it's hard to see, but see that's gray, and see the makeup that's coming off? That's too much makeup in that area, right? So I'm pressing, kind of starting in the areas that are a little bit lighter, center of my face out. Heather, you can if you want to. You could do that. Usually at this point, I don't want it to get too wet because by adding the setting spray to it, it would get a little bit wetter, and I don't want to pull my makeup off at this point. Right now, I'm just pressing this makeup into my skin, and I'm lifting off any excess. So see, here's a nice clean area here. See, you'll see the difference. See how much is coming off? So this is an important step because we want this to look like our skin. We want to press this makeup in. We want to lift off any excess. And that's what we're doing, okay? If you feel like you lifted too much off, it's buildable. You can always go back and add more, okay? So at this point, we have, it's kind of getting bright in here, sorry about that. Done all of our makeup. I am very subtle as far as like my contour. That's enough of a little bit of a shadow up here. I've got a little bit, I'm gonna brush my contour up and tap just a little bit more on. I tend to be one of those gals that almost pulls all my contour off. I do that a lot. A lot of us do that. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and apply a little bit of lip and cheek color. And that is right here. I'm gonna use this color, it's called Sandstone. So you can apply your cheek color in several different ways. For more of a full coverage, go with a Satin Lip. This is more of a matte shade. It's more pigmented. It's not a glossy or a sheer. This one's called Sandstone. And I'm going to use this end of that brush, the same one I've been using, and tap in to the color. And then here is my contour. Here is the outside of my eye. And so I'm going to apply from the outside of my eye above my contour some of this pretty color. I'm going to tap in. And I'm pressing it on, pressing, and now I can continue to go back here and press and tap to lighten. And if I got too much, what are we gonna do? We'll either make the other side match or we will use our Corrector sponge, right, to diffuse and soften it a bit. So I like to put my blush kind of right over the contour, up towards my temple, and up. Make sure that it's straight. Okay. These are also lip and cheek colors, obviously. So since this one is pretty pigmented, I'm going to use a brush to apply it instead of my finger, so I don't have lip color all over my finger. But that is Sandstone. Very pretty. Okay, so I don't have any eyeshadow on. I did do my brows ahead of time and I put a little bit of mascara on. So what we're gonna do next is we're going to actually set the makeup, okay? And that was a good question, Heather. So now if you want to set your makeup with your sponge, you can spray, find a little clean area and you can spray some setting spray on your sponge and pat it on, okay? I will tell you how to get that sponge ready. Thank you, remind me, I'm gonna tell you that. So you can take your water-based setting spray, make sure it's not silicone, it has to be water-based because silicone and cream, oil and the creams don't work together, they just don't like each other. So you can squirt this all over the sponge and just know the area where you have the setting spray, and you can lightly tap. Now I do not want you rubbing or pushing hard because you just want to apply, you just want the setting spray. Can you see where it's wet? We want the setting spray to set the makeup that's sitting on top of your skin, but you don't want the sponge to take your makeup off with the setting spray. Does that make sense? You can also just spray your face with it, shake it up really well, hold it back, spray. Another really great way to apply setting spray is you can spray it on a fluffy end of a brush, kind of like this sponge, the same concept, and lightly tap it on, okay? And lightly tap. And then you'll just let that dry. You'll let that setting spray dry and that'll help set the makeup for the day. It's kind of wet right now on my face, so we'll let that dry. So to prepare your beauty blender, that was a great question, Heather. What I do is when I get up to make my coffee, I grab my beauty blender. I have more than one, but I grab one of them and I run it under water so I get it wet. I squeeze it, let it fill up with water, squeeze it, water's coming down, let it fill up with water, okay? When it fills up with water and it's this size, then you're gonna squeeze all the water out several times. Shake it, shake it, shake it, so all the water, as much as you can squeeze out. Then you need to take a little dish towel or a washcloth, squeeze it, okay, get all that water out. And then while my coffee is brewing, or I'm taking a shower, doing my hair, I just set this on the towel, on my desk, wherever I'm gonna do my makeup, and I just kind of let it air dry so that it's poofy, it's not wet, there's no water coming out, but it's perfectly prepared, okay? And I think I have a video somewhere. I'll remind me. Heather, message me for my video on how to prepare your, a little video that shows you how to do it, even if you want a visual. Okay, so we have applied everything. The last thing, if you want to, is you can add a little bit of Illuminator. This is like what they might call highlights. This is in the makeup world. It's a cream. This is called Angel. And you can tap a little bit of this up above your cheekbone if you want a little extra shimmer. You can put some down your nose. You can put it over your lip to make your lip color more frosty. So that's really fun as well. You can use these in a lot of different ways. You can put them as up on your brow bone to add a little bit of brightness. And that's just an extra bonus. A lot of times, some of the gals are like, I don't really need Illuminator. I really want the color corrector and the foundation that's going to work with my skin. So what we did today was full coverage. And we talked about how you get full coverage depends on three things, right? The type of coverage you get depends on three things. First, the type of brush you use. The looser the brush, the more fluffy and the less makeup it's gonna pick up. And depending on how you apply it to your face, if you do a swirling motion like this or a little buffing, it's going to apply less makeup. If you use a brush that's more dense and firmer, it's gonna pick up more makeup. And if you press or stipple your makeup on, your makeup will apply, you'll get more of a medium to full coverage. How did you cover the spot on forehead under your hair? On my forehead? That mole? I think it's still there. It's a mole. It's a mole, it's still there. Yeah. I hope that's what you were asking me, Denise. So this is, again, I like my skin to show through, okay? So for me, full coverage, this is a little bit more makeup than I usually wear. I like a little bit more of a no makeup, light coverage look, and that's what's so great is that with this same set, just by changing up my brush and or changing how I apply my makeup, I can get a totally different application, a very natural no makeup look or a more full coverage look, okay? So that's what's so great. It's so versatile. And I thank you for joining me today. If you do end up having questions specifically, just keep asking them here. You definitely can. I'll come back and answer all the questions. And I'll save this as a recorded live video. It'll be saved so that you can always watch it later if you had to take off or if you missed the beginning, you can go back and watch the beginning. I didn't put any eyeshadow on. I just wanted to talk about the actual makeup. So no eyeshadow. That's okay though. We can do that in another video. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Donna. All right. Have a great day. And if you follow me on Instagram, it's 50 is the new 50 blog. Check out my stories because I was showing some videos of the trees being trimmed today. Hopefully this wasn't too obnoxious to hear the chainsaws going in the background. Thanks again, and if you want to get color matched, please reach out to me. I think that in the description or on this event page is my color match form. It's all done virtually. You can also message me for a color match as well. All right, thanks, gals. I'll talk to you next time. Have a great day.